Hello, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to another reaction video. We're going to be watching Where the Dragons SCP-1762 Went. This has been a very, very highly requested video, so I hope you enjoy it. It's supposed to be sad, so hopefully we're going to cry together. Make sure you stay hydrated, and we're going to have some fun.
Some psychiatric patients are very afraid.
Oh, it's by Detective Void as well, so make sure you check them out below. I'll post a little linky in the statusy info section of the video, so click on the linky, send them a like in a video. I've never watched Detective Void that I know of so far, so it'll be interesting to see. Waving this around.
Afraid of their own thoughts. They're convinced that everything they think about can't come true. In some cases, this really works, because object SCP-1762 was created by someone's imagination, most likely a child's. This anomaly is considered safe, but this can be contested. SCP-1762 consists of two components.
1762?
Component number 1, or SCP-1762-1, is a seemingly ordinary cardboard box. Its dimensions are 32 by 20 by 26 centimeters.
32, 20, pretty average size box.
On the upper surface is an inscription written in marker, "Here be dragons." But if you open the box, it'll be empty inside, and you won't find any dragons. In fact, the box itself
It's a little bit disappointing. I kind of was hoping there'd be dragons.
Decides when to release the dragons. The exact or even approximate time of the anomaly's activation is impossible to predict. Each time it happens spontaneously and unexpectedly.
Spontaneous dragons appear from the box? I like this one already.
When the box is activated and opens on its own, a thick black column of smoke comes out of it initially. The smoke quickly dissipates, and after about 20 seconds, swarms of SCP-1762-2 appear from the box. These are origami figures, folded in the shape of dragons. Their appearance mimics that of all kinds of dragons, from the legends of different nations around the world. The paper that the dragons are folded out of is intended specifically for origami. The length of the paper dragons varies from 9 to 30 centimeters. They move at a speed of about 15 kilometers an hour.
That's pretty big.
When the dragons leave the box, they gather in packs and start to play with each other.
Oh, this sounds so cute. This is really wholesome so far. Little paper playing dragons. Oh, this is so much nicer than the last few we've seen.
Even with people nearby. The amount of SCP-1762-2 instances differs each time, and the number can reach 400 or more.
400?
The creatures need no more than 3 hours for sufficient play, after which they go back into the box. SCP-1762-1 closes as soon as the last dragon flies inside. After that, a mysterious message usually appears on the lid. As a rule, it's written by hand or carved on a suitable material. It would seem that such a toy would be every child's dream, but as
I wish I had this toy as a child. What? Excuse me? This sounds amazing. Can you imagine getting home from school, opening a box and having 5 billion freaking dragons coming out of it to play with you? Hopefully they don't burn things down, Dracarys style, but be fun nonetheless.
As for this world, whose door was opened by a child's imagination, everything ended very tragically.
No.
Starting with the first message in 2004. You can count back to the beginning of what the Foundation's employees called the Jabberwocky event. It was accompanied by a series of messages and incidents that took place over the course of 11 months and 28 days. Judging by the first letter, its authors thought they were playing not with employees of the Foundation, but with their creators. The message began with a friendly greeting and a mention of the fact that the recipient and sender hadn't seen each other in a while. The author of the letter was glad that they had been found again. They asked whether the recipient remembered how to care for the room, and asked how a certain family was doing. I assume that they were referring to the child whose imagination created the world that dragons exist in. As for the room, things are much more complicated.
Wait. So, put a little pause button down right now.
Hold up.
So the dragons can speak to people, right? And they were communicating with what they thought was the family? Is that correct? The family that made them? Maybe?
My main hypothesis is that in the house where the child lived, there was a creative room, dedicated specifically for drawing on the walls, as well as for creating origami out of paper.
That's
The
a lot of
child's
assumptions.
illustrations and paper creations come to life in a world called fantasy. The authors of the letter can probably only recognize some physical variables in our world, such as size, light level, and so on. Most likely, the creatures from fantasy thought that the Foundation's employees were their creator and his family, and that the
Aw.
containment chamber was the room in which all the illustrations and origami were originally created. This is evidenced by the questions in the message. The creatures from fantasy asked if their creator had grown taller and if the room had gotten smaller. This was important to
Aw.
the letter's author,
That sounds so sad.
since it was required by a certain agreement. Along with the next message, a total of 20 paper dragons flew out of the box, with an urgent request to repair the room as soon as possible. In addition to the benevolent dragons, the child's imagination likely created the evil giants and behemoths. They don't attack the dragons as long as the room remains in its original state. During the next activation, no more than 10 SCP-1762-2 instances and 3 wads of paper flew out of the box, shaking for several seconds until they finally stopped moving. In the end, the dragons took their dead companions with them back into the box.
Wait. So, because the room is too small, there's like evil creatures inside the box that's killing them? I'm gonna cry.
The accompanying letter expressed regret that the creator was unable to restore the room to its proper appearance. Sometime after that, a message was delivered directly by the dragons. 5 paper instances of SCP-1762-2 flew out of the box, threw a letter on the floor, and immediately disappeared back into the box. This letter indicated that the serpents and the hybrids were the dragons' allies, and the elves were the giants' allies, and that the latter were preparing an attack on fantasy. You might be thinking, what does our world care about the revival of fantasy? But judging by the letter, the
should.
creatures from another dimension are threatening to invade our world. The giants and elves are planning to make some sort of entrance. I believe that in this case, this means an entrance into our dimension. Foundation staff left this without interpretation, which in my opinion is very
Why is the Foundation like not giving a shit right now? They should be helping these cutie little origami dragons. What's wrong with you?
strange. Or as always, they're carefully hiding the more explicit details. But we'll come back to that a little later. After the next letter, an event occurred that can hardly be attributed to a safe object. First, an injured dragon came out of the box. Half a minute later, he died. Unfolding the piece of paper that the dragon was made from, the staff found an inscription, a farewell and an announcement of the beginning of war and fantasy. 2 hours after the death of the dragon, a 2-meter column of flames appeared from the box, whose temperature reached 1700 degrees Celsius. By the way, that's higher than the melting point of iron. Along with the fire, SCP-1762-1 let out a loud, eerie roar. It was
Oh no.
followed by flying scraps of paper and injured instances of SCP-1762-2. All the damaged dragons that were ejected from the box were declared dead. For the next 6 weeks, the anomaly regularly emitted flames and expelled chunks of muscle tissue.
Oh no. So all the dragons are being killed? And they're trying to... Oh, this is horrible,
For the
guys.
following 7 months, the anomaly remained inactive. But then it made itself known again. A piece of parchment paper with drops of blood on it appeared from the box. The message said that all of the creatures in fantasy were dead. The creator's room was to be buried, but the authors of the letter hoped that they could see their reader again. After that, the box started a process of partial self-destruction. The box was charred in several places, including on the phrase, "Here be dragons." The last letter of the Jabberwocky event was
What?
lying inside the dilapidated box. It was a papyrus scroll with an image of a mountain landscape and a dragon flying off into the distance. At the bottom was a message saying that a certain master had informed the letter's author that they would never see humans again. Salt water poured out of the box and gradually SCP-1762-1 regained its former shape. And the phrase, "Here were dragons," appeared in the place of the old inscription. After that, the anomaly was considered neutralized.
What?
However, the most recent chord sounded after 8 years. After the Jabberwocky event, the box was kept in the office of a researcher named Yoshihiro Takanaka, under his regular supervision. The scientist wasn't expecting the anomaly to activate when the box suddenly opened, giving off a purple light. Inside was a fragment of amethyst carved with the phrase, "One last time," as well as a huge
That says for the last time, but it's okay, we won't semantics.
leather-bound book. It was later assigned the number 1762-BOL-1. The book contains descriptions of the creatures that once inhabited fantasy. The purple glow lasted for about 40 minutes, but when the researcher tried to touch the object, the box crumbled. The Foundation now keeps the inactive anomalies remains in storage. The book does not have any
Fucking like dustpan and brushed it up. Whoop, better put that in a baggie.
anomalous properties either. SCP-1762 self-destructed, but left a lot of questions in its wake. Who created it? Is it possible to go to fantasy? Can the inhabitants of this dimension enter our world? I don't know if the Foundation conducted a graphological examination, but if it was up to me, I definitely would've. Since the box's original handwritten messages and inscriptions aren't available to me, I can only work with...
Why couldn't they have tried putting like a camera or something in the box? Because then when the lid closed, sorry, my eyeball's leaking. I'm like half crying over this really sad event of the dragons being killed. Why didn't they just put a camera or something in the box? I know that's probably I'm sure gonna get some people in the comments explaining why, but logically, what if you put like a camera in the box? So when the box closed after the dragons were done, you might have been able to film some of the footage of like what was actually going on. And then we could have figured out a way to help them. Instead of just letting them all die. I don't know, I feel like we could have just not let them all die.
Printed copies, but that was more than enough for me. I used a special neural network developed by Czech programmer Peter Plakach. His artificial intelligence was able to determine that Shakespeare had a co-author, and he helped me identify the author whose style most closely matches the letters from fantasy. To do this, he compared the text of the letters with the entire literary database of the internet, as well as fragments of text written by other anomalies. To my great surprise, SCP-1762's writing style turned out to be a 99.9% match to Dr. Wondertainment.
Dr. Wondertainment.
Let me remind you that this is the most mysterious and elusive manufacturer of anomalous children's toys. From time to time, the Foundation intercepts
I feel like that's a video we might have to do one time. Dr. Entertainment.
the Doctor's creation, or the Doc sends them out themselves. In one of my investigations, I've already put forward the hypothesis that Dr. Wondertainment may be Tilda Moose, the director of Zone 19.
Huh? There's so much lore going into this. I have no idea. Tilda Moose. I need to watch these videos.
Since then, I haven't found new evidence that points to my hypothesis, but now it looks like the investigation has taken quite a turn. The first thing that comes to mind is that SCP-1762 is another one of Dr. Wondertainment's toys. However, unlike the Doctor's other creations, the box with dragons doesn't have the characteristic logo, and it's generally signed by hand with a permanent marker. SCP-1762 could have very well been created before Dr. Wondertainment started up production. Either that, or the child who created fantasy actually was Dr. Wondertainment. Even as a child...
That's pretty interesting theory. So this like creepy fantasy guy made this as like one of his first creations. Ooh, that could be why it's so raggedy looking and it's just in a box. And he like made it to entertain himself, perhaps? Which kind of makes me sad. Like, why would he abandon them?
They discovered in themselves the ability to create anomalies, and even entire fairy tale worlds. The creatures from the world of fantasy have completely adopted the writing style of the letter's author. Then, as the child grew up, they completely forgot about one of their first creations and began to create new anomalies.
That's so
but
sad.
What if Wondertainment didn't forget, but rather realized the full extent of the danger of their creation and decided to run from responsibility? As I said, the letters mentioned a certain entrance. I assume that many creations, in particular malicious ones, have found their way to enter our world. Moreover, I believe that a significant portion of all SCPs come to our universe from the world of fantasy, because it's no coincidence that many of them look like they came from children's drawings. And now let's return to the director of Zone 19.
I mean, do they, to be fair? What SCPs are like they came from children's drawings? Oh, you know what? The statue looks like it was a child's drawing. It does look like someone just squiggled a face out of crayon. Oh my god, Dr. Wondertainment, did this evil neck-breaking statue escape from SCP-1762? Sorry.
If she really is Dr. Wondertainment, maybe it was on purpose that she was made director of the zone with the most dangerous objects. After all,
Maybe.
only she knows how to deal with them, since the anomalies are the materialization of her imagination, aren't they? What do you think?
Oh, but that's just a theory. An SCP theory. That was a pretty good one though. I like that one. That was a little shorter than normal, but it was fun. There's a bunch of that lore that I have absolutely no idea about at all. Completely. But I liked the idea that it was a child who created these dragons. It is kind of like a child thing to do because dragons are cool. But it's kind of sad though that the Foundation didn't try to accommodate the dragon's pleas for help. Like, all they asked for was a slightly bigger room and like some paintings and stuff. I feel like they could have done that. I feel like they could have done that, and then the dragons might not have had to have left or died. And I feel like there's a lot more SCPs about this as well. But I liked Detective Void as well. Kudos to you, Mr. Void. Nicely created video, and make sure you like his video below, please. But I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay amazing, stay beautiful, stay bastardly. And I'll see you next one, guys. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think of Dr. Void, Detective Void, even. I like finding these new creators, so until next time, bye!